Today we're going to be talking about one of our flagship programs at the University of Auckland, and I do have two of my ex-students here today that will be sharing some of their experience. My name is Dr. Tiens Henning, or on campus everybody calls me Dr. T. I hail from South Africa, as you could tell from my accent. I started my career after my graduate studies in the military because we had to do compulsory national service, and as part of that role I had to plan the renewals and maintenance on Air Force bases in South Africa. So that was the start of a wonderful career in infrastructure asset management, of which I will be telling you a little bit more about today. So really this program that we've started at the University of Auckland is one of my dreams coming true. Now with me today I've got Gillian and I've got Anna, and both of them came through some of the papers. Anna is from a different background. We will talk more about that later, but I've seen them in class and they were my two favorite students. They were also my top students, so but I think they've got such unique stories today to share with you. So I'm going to get you, Gillian, perhaps starting with introducing yourself, a little bit about your background.
Sure, yeah. My name is Gillian and I graduated from the Master of Infrastructure Asset Management from the University of Auckland, and I have an undergraduate in environmental engineering. And I'm currently working at Transpower with the asset management team.
Fantastic. Anna, how about yourself? What are you doing now?
My name's Anna and I'm currently studying a Masters of Engineering, looking at coastal species abundance estimates using drones, so quite different from this, but I did my undergrad in engineering science, and through that I took one of the papers from the Masters of Infrastructure and Asset Management, which was really interesting.
Fantastic, thank you and welcome again. Now both these two students have got one thing in common. They do have some environmental background as part of their education and current education, and are very interesting. We will talk more about that. So in terms of the webinar structure today, I will provide you with some key information and the background of the program itself. We're then going to go into a conversation with the two students to share their experiences while studying and afterwards, and then we're going to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you will see the instructions for the questions that you can ask during the session, but then obviously also afterwards. So maybe let's start a little bit with some background and information on this program. Now, I just want to emphasize that I'm not going to spend too much time explaining everything, because all of the information is actually on the website. So there's obviously a lot of information to share with you on that. The University of Auckland, for those of you calling in or looking in from overseas, is the strongest university by ranking in New Zealand. We're also the largest. And we're one of the top 100 universities from around the world. So we're very proud of what we have achieved. And we're also very proud to be a host to both our domestic students, but also our international students. The program for infrastructure asset management is a degree by itself. It is run out of the Faculty of Engineering, but it's not an engineering qualification. And really the reason for that is because in my career as asset management, I have come across so many of my colleagues that came from different backgrounds. I worked with lawyers, I've worked with accountants, I've worked with scientists, and all of them work in this asset management area, but there was never a qualification that they can put behind their career. So really this program provided for them. Now, I don't have to tell you how important job this is because we've got infrastructure all around us. Most of the infrastructure around the world is getting old and must be planned, and it takes a lot of money. So that's one of my favorite topics, and my students now talking about money, because in the end of the day, the big question is how we're going to pay for all of this. The program, as I said, is for a variety of backgrounds, people from science, law or business. and the program gives you even electives that you can take from these other faculties. If you want to do the Masters, it typically takes you between a year or a year and a half part-time. It will take you up to 3 years. So full-time is a year to year and a half, part-time from 2 years onwards. The entry requirements require you to have a 4-year bachelor's degree, equivalent of our bachelor's degree at the University of Auckland. But if you don't have all the entry requirements, we also have a diploma in infrastructure management or a certificate in infrastructure management. And even with the diploma, it's an entry pathway into the Masters of Infrastructure Management. That is about the information that I can share with you at this moment, but I do want to encourage you to ask questions afterwards, some specific items that you want to know more about. So let's talk a little bit about the graduate experience. Now I'm going to start with you, Anna, and acknowledging that you didn't do the full program, you just take some of the papers that is part of this infrastructure management course. So tell us a little bit about what did you study before and what are you studying now?
Well, I studied for my undergrad a Bachelor of Engineering Science, or Bachelor of Engineering specialising in engineering science. And that really is quite an analytical degree, and it involves a lot of numbers, a lot of like computer work, coding, mathematical modelling, but looking at applying that to real world problems. And so that's kind of what drew the application to real world problems is kind of what drew me to taking some of the papers I did. The climate change adaptation of infrastructure paper was really interesting because that's gave me the ability to apply this analytical knowledge that I had to a real world situation.
And what are you doing now?
So I'm studying a Masters of Engineering looking at coastal species abundance estimates using drones and AI. So that's, also in like looking at climate, how the climate is affecting our like coastal species and how that is changing the way that like we as humans interact with animals in our coastal areas and how they're being affected, but again looking at it from like an analytical perspective.
Fantastic. And you know, Anna, I've seen so many of your colleagues from engineering science coming into our program because I think the future and some of the technologies that you've mentioned really opens up the world for people with that deep analytical skills that wants to do a little bit more data analytics and collections and those sort of things. So that's very interesting. And why did you take the climate adaptation course with me?
Oh, well, I was really interested. I'm quite passionate, I guess, about how the climate change and how that is affecting our world and the changes that it's having in just the environment. I think I was really interested in knowing like more about how we can adapt to that adapt to the changes that are happening moving forward, and learning about how it's going to impact different areas, like specifically infrastructure. I think is really interesting, and specifically for like New Zealand as well, where we have so much like coastal area where that's where you see the most impacts of climate change, I think.
Right. So in particularly that course, how is it helping you with your postgraduate studies that you are doing now? What background did it give you?
I think it gave me good context to knowing more about like climate change and how that is having like an impact on the world. But I also think it helped me build up my research skills as well, because we did a big research component where we had to do like a kind of self-directed study, and that's also been really helpful because my master's is research and it's very self-directed, so it gave me like skills I think that helped with that.
Fantastic. No, thank you for that. So maybe another question that fascinated me was the assignment that you did as part of your climate adaptation course. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
That was really interesting. So we could kind of choose any situation in the world that we wanted to explore for this final assignment. And I had recently been on a family trip to Samoa, where I have a lot of like family ties, and my dad is from there. And so he had always said when we'd gone back there, that how much like erosion had affected the area and how the beaches used to be like so big and so like vast, but now they're like there's like the road and then there's the beach in some areas, and it's pretty much just like ocean.
Yes.
And how much it's been eroded, and that always like really impacted me, I think. And so when we went there last year, we were driving around the like South Coast Road, and there were parts of it that were literally going underwater, and I thought that was like, I don't know, it was like really crazy to see the like tangible impacts of like climate change. And so I chose to study a particular ford that was underwater, especially at high tide, and was like pretty impassable, and then looked at how the different options for upgrading that for my final project.
So your project was pretty much in the decision-making side of what is the best way to invest in the future of that road. Fantastic, and thank you very much for your time. Now, Gillian, switching a little bit over to you, you came from a science background, and then you enrolled for the Infrastructure Asset Management program. Why did you do that?
Why? Well, after I finished my studies in environmental engineering, I was looking for something more related to like the built environment, something maybe by the lines of civil engineering, but not exactly civil engineering, so something more tangible. And then I came across this master's program, and I saw that it was not about the building of the assets, but maintaining and everything around the assets. And I found it quite interesting. I checked the curriculum, and I saw it had so many things, so many different parts of it that I was very interested, from strategy to planning to performance monitoring, all the way to life cycle assessment, data, and sustainability. So I was like, this is good, like so many parts that I'm interested in. That's what I did.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, so as part of the program, you've got 2 elective courses. You've got to do infrastructure asset management, and then you've got to do climate adaptation and design. Which other electives did you take?
I took some electives that I took was disaster management. I took some courses in engineering risk management, life cycle assessment. I work in energy technologies. I took some classes in smart infrastructure analytics, which is kind of data analytics, not as deep as what she's doing, but good still. I work in urban planning, so a range of topics.
Fantastic, yeah. So this program allows you to go into a very analytical area if you're interested in that, or you can do more managerial type courses or humanitarian courses even. So it does give you the options to work in the skill areas that you need one day. So tell us about your job now. What do you do?
Sure. Currently, I'm working with Transpower in the asset management team. So what Transpower does is basically is the company in charge of the electricity transmission in New Zealand. And in the asset planning team, what we do is take care of the assets to ensure that we can continue to provide the service of electricity across the country. So that's my job, basically, is taking care of things as asset management as its pure form.
Fantastic. Was it difficult to get that job, or do you think your qualification actually gave you a little bit of an edge to getting that career?
I think it definitely helped. And even now that I'm working on it, I think it's basically word for word. Like, this is what we do every single day. All the topics that I study, I can totally see how it's applied at the company. So yeah, the master really definitely helped me get this job. Yeah.
And how practical was your training? Do you feel every day when you do the work that you actually got the skills and the competency to do your work well?
I think, yeah, it definitely gave me all the skills needed. And not only theoretical, but also skills that every day I can apply. Is quite relevant. The topics that I learned during the master's programs are completely relevant to what I'm doing, and transferable completely. So you can see.
Thank you very much for that, Gillian. Anna, just maybe coming back to you with one more question. Why do you see this strong linkage between engineering and some of the more environmental sciences moving forward?
I think the environment is changing so much, and there's so much to learn, and I think as we develop more technology through engineering, we can kind of it helps us understand what's going on in the environment more. Like if we can apply these technologies we've developed to the changing environment, we can understand it better and then I think adapt to it better.
Yes, yes. And I see that engineers in essence have to get much closer to the environment these days to provide the sustainable future that we're all looking forward to. So yes, so thank you very much for those questions. Now I do welcome my audience to ask questions of me or my two students, so please use Slido for your questions. I'm going to perhaps just start with another question to Gillian in terms of your future, and how do you see the qualification helping you in the future for the work that you're doing?
I think the qualification really opens multiple doors. After I finished my studies, I realized the asset management was way wider than I initially thought. Something wider, very wide field, and you can go down through so many pathways that can be applied. As I said, it can be from the planning all the way to performance monitoring. That is very much like hands-on. So it can be applied everywhere in any industry, I feel, and pretty much all the skills that you get in one industry can be transferred to other one as a asset planner, asset manager. So yeah, definitely will help.
You're going to use this on the beast. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so we've got some of the questions that's starting to come in, and the first one is really the opportunities to engage with industry while you're studying. Now, perhaps Gillian, you did take the course on infrastructure asset management. We had a number of guest speakers coming in from the industry. Can you perhaps reflect on how that helped you to understand the sector a little bit better?
Yeah, as you said, it definitely having these people that are working in the real world doing the asset management help us understand as students how everything that we were learning was actually applied. How can you put it in practice? And these guest lectures that we had were also brought different perspectives and challenging topics to each of the classes. So yeah, there was definitely an opportunity to engage with professionals.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Also, I just want to mention that our students have got access to our industry advisory group and also our institutes like APOPU. APOPU is the infrastructure professionals of New Zealand, and our students have free membership of APOPU, and that allows them to attend conferences and mix and mingle with the people in the industry. Thank you very much for that, Gillian. The next question that I often get is the types of infrastructure that we cover as part of our program. Now, I just have to make it clear that this program is not set up for a specific infrastructure type. We try to cover the theory that is applicable to all infrastructure types, man-made as well as natural infrastructure and assets. And then what we do is, where we've got good examples of certain sectors that does something really, really well, we're going to use those examples as part of our practical teaching. So, Gillian, in the power sector, I think you will agree with me that risk management is a big topic, right? So, you can perhaps reflect on some of the learnings that you had from risk management in the courses.
Yeah, and actually, engineering risk management was one of my favorite subjects, actually.
Yeah.
And now that you mention it, yeah, it has a lot of influence on the way we plan and obviously the way we put our projects ahead.
Yeah,
because we need to consider that obviously has a big impact on a big way on the amount of money that you're going to put in a project or how it's going to impact you in the future. So definitely climate risk management is a very important part of the work. It's something that you think about in the present and also in the future, the long term. So it's always there. It's always going to be there.
Yeah, fantastic. Another question that I often get, and similar question just appear now, is whether somebody from a non-engineering background can do and will find this course to their benefit. So really the program is set up for anybody with the different backgrounds to get a profession in infrastructure asset management. Now that can be more of a legal type role, it can be a purely managerial role. Anna has spoken about her wizard analytic skills and technology. Of course, there's a lot of management systems. So really we cater for all the interest from the different perspectives that people bring into the program. So it's definitely not only for engineers. We actually welcome the other professions to come in. But I think for those who are from an engineering background, we bring something very special to their learning. Obviously, in your engineering undergraduate programs, you will do the fundamentals of engineering, but you hardly ever get the opportunity to see how we manage that. How do you do the financial life cycle analysis? What happens with the climate, and how do you cater for climate change, both in trying to reduce our impact on the climate, but also climate adaptation. So irrespective of the background that you're from, there's always some of your skill sets that you can build further on and create a career in that. Or you can create new skill sets that you may not have before as part of your undergraduate learnings, and then use that in your profession moving forward. Yeah, so it is quite wide. I don't know, do you want to comment on that perhaps, Gillian? Do you talk about some of the things you never knew was part of asset management?
Sure. I think, for example, you mentioned life cycle assessment. I didn't knew that existed, but when I got to learn about it, I found it quite interesting and quite like basic, fundamental for asset management and infrastructure management in general, life cycle of the assets or equipment in general, everything. That one is one of the things that even to this day, I still remember my classes, how interesting it was when I got to learn, and now I see it apply in real life. In
real life, it does exist, yeah. Maybe, Anna, if you can also tell us a little bit in terms of, so you came from this very scientific and analytical perspective. What was for you surprising new learning that you got as part of the course you've done with our program?
I think I would also touch on like the life cycle of things. I think when we first mentioned, I guess like whatever, like that different infrastructure like pieces were built with a specific like kind of life cycle in mind, I had no idea that was a thing, and I thought that was like crazy. Yeah. That each thing has kind of not a expiry date, but a you know, this is when it should last to, and I had no idea that was a thing. So I thought that was really cool when I learned that.
Yeah, it's something that people don't always realize, but when you build infrastructure, you think that's where all the cost goes into, but often it's only 20 to 30% of the cost is during initial construction, but it's during its life. It's taking tremendous investment to keep it working as it should. So yes, so thank you for that perspective. The next question that I have is on scholarships, and I do encourage you to look at our website. The scholarship, different options of scholarship is well explained there. For our international audience in particular, we've got the Manaki scholarships. That's a very popular scholarship to bring you into New Zealand and study with our institution. So yes, please have a look at that. I just want to say thank you to both Gillian and Anna for coming to share your experiences, because I think that's very important for people considering this program as a part of their future. If you've got more queries or specific questions, please feel free to contact us through Ask Auckland Online and our support centre. So you're more than welcome to contact us in any way. And certainly I hope to see you being part of this program and an exciting career in infrastructure asset management. Thank you very, very much.